Call to order for the Watertown City Council meeting for April 17th of 2023. Please rise while Hank Rosso, the chaplain for the Watertown Fire Department, among many other titles, leads us in prayer.
Our Heavenly Father, as we come to you this evening, we're so thankful that we live in a community like Watertown. It's not a perfect place, but it's pretty hard to beat it. Thank you for the excellent city services that we enjoy, our police and fire, and how they watch over us, oh God. We thank you during this time when there's concerns for flooding, the excellent response that some of our city people have been involved. I've heard good reports about that, and we're so thankful to be in a place like this where people care for one another. God, we also are thankful for those that are standing or sitting here around this podium today, and the investment of time and talent that they give to Watertown, the staff members that are here. We're so grateful tonight, and we just want to say thank you. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Finance Officer Bob Zine, please call the roll.
Okay. Bueller. Here. Danforth.
Here.
Helene.
Here.
Paulson. Here. Shetty.
Here.
Tupper.
Here.
Billhauer.
Here.
Thank you.
Quorum is established. The chair is going to break with protocol, and I'm going to go to our city manager, Amanda Mack, to give us a flood update, because I know that there's many people out in the community who would like to know what is happening, and if anyone is going to be watching us, it's probably right now at the beginning. So, City Manager Mack, please give us an update.
All right, thank you, Mayor. First, I'd like to share where residents can find information on this if you have been unable to find it. We almost daily, since about the 27th of March, have been issuing daily press releases that go out to all of the elected officials, certain staff within different organizations, as well as all of the media in the area that give an update on what's happening that day as it relates to flooding and flood operations. We also share that information to the city's Facebook page, as well as the city's Public Works page, the police department page, I believe the fire department page. I'm not sure if you guys are sharing it out or not. And the information is also available on the city's website. We've provided information to some reporters from the Public Opinion as well. So just in case you were wondering where to find the information, if you want historical information as well, it's all there. So as of today, Lake Kapeska has crested. I'll just read the PSA that went out this morning. City, county, and state officials met this morning to discuss the state of current flood operations within the city of Watertown and at Lake Pelican. As of this morning, Lake Kapeska water levels have receded 1.8 inches from the crest, which occurred Sunday afternoon at 44.28 inches over full. In 2019, the inches over full was almost 46, so we're a little bit lower than that. The main concern right now is the large amount of ice breakup occurring on the lake, and if you've driven out there, you see the big slabs of ice. They're pretty impressive, but also a little dangerous. So the concern is that and the potential for structural damage due to increasing winds. Southeast winds with gusts up to 35 miles per hour are expected to begin late tomorrow afternoon. The latest forecast from the National Weather Service also indicates a slight chance for rain showers Tuesday into Wednesday. Most of the precipitation is expected to track east and south of the Watertown area, which is good for us. Warmer temperatures are forecasted the first half of this week, with temperatures cooling down once again closer to the weekend. WMU personnel are urging homeowners to contact them, and the number is listed on the city's website and Facebook page. If you observe ice getting close to your gas main or if your gas mains are going underwater. Officials continue to monitor river gauges along the Big Sioux. The USGS river gauge at Florence, South Dakota, showed the river crested on Tuesday, April 13th at 9.71 feet and has since dropped to 7.42 feet as of Monday morning. The river gauge at Broadway in Watertown is 0.06 lower than yesterday. Lake Pelican continues to rise. It's currently at an elevation of 13.28 feet, which is 2.7 feet or 32.4 inches above full. This is 1.92 inches higher than yesterday. We do expect that the lake will equalize within the next 2 days. We also expect to be able to reopen 10th Avenue here in the next couple of days. There's still water on the road. It's not flowing over it like it was before. Sandbags remain available at the following locations. There are, at least as of this morning, there were full sandbags still available at the Extension Complex. And there are supplies for sandbagging at Linwood Boat Launch, Sailboat Landing, and Jackson Park South. We will get a plan out within the next week to 10 days on cleanup efforts from the sandbagging efforts and how we're going to handle that. So please be on the lookout for additional information. As long as things continue to trend downward, our command team probably won't be meeting daily, but we are in contact with one another. And if things change, we have the ability to meet pretty quickly and make decisions. All of the city infrastructure that would have been impacted by flooding, so all of the lift stations, things like that, were protected by sandbags and HESCO baskets. So it was quite the operation, and we're grateful for everyone's effort and work in that, and we'll continue to keep an eye on things as we get through the next few days.
Thank you very much, Manager Mack. The chair will, along these same lines, the chair needs the consent of the council to suspend the rules to take up an emergency resolution number 23-17. It was not on tonight's agenda, and therefore I need to suspend the rules in order to take it up. Motion made by Councilman Vilhauer, seconded by Councilman Paulson. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, the motion is to suspend the rules to take up an emergency resolution. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Resolution number 23-17, I will go to City Manager Mack, but I will just read the last part of it, which is, therefore, be it resolved by the Watertown City Council at a regular meeting held on April 17th, 2023, it is hereby requested that the governor declare an emergency disaster to exist in the city of Watertown, and that the city manager is authorized to take all actions and to make all expenditures necessary to appropriately respond to the flood emergency, including, but not limited to, executing a cooperative agreement with the United States Army Corps of Engineers if needed. For more information, we'll go to City Manager Mack.
Thank you, Mayor. You'll see a similar resolution on the County Commission agenda for tomorrow. This is largely housekeeping. We aren't sure that the flooding that occurred in Cottington County and in Watertown will meet thresholds for reimbursement through FEMA, but we need to have our ducks in a row in case it does. And both from a good and bad perspective, we do anticipate that the flooding north of us in Grant and Roberts County may put the state over the $1.6 million threshold that would allow our mitigation efforts to be included in the reimbursements. So this is, we don't know if we're going to be declared a disaster yet or not. But taking this action allows us to apply for reimbursements and also apply for additional funding should we need to expend more efforts.
All right, thank you very much. I would like a motion to approve the resolution. Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Any discussion on this, Council? Councilman Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I first just want to say thanks to all the staff for putting all the hours that they put into this. Obviously, that comes with any flood, but I know you guys work hard and long hours at this and keeping the public informed. I do want to just ask about the Corps' modeling because we saw a drastic increase over a couple days, which caused a little bit of panic, especially at the lake, because when they say 30 inches or what, below there, and then it's 44 inches, and then it gets to 54 inches, which would have been a record. That caused some panic, and I mean, there was a lot of people reaching out to me asking for constant updates, and I know a lot of staff members were being questioned too, but I guess I do just want to ask that question. I don't know if it's directed towards engineering or not, but is there any way that we could help with their modeling efforts? because I know it sounded like the flows over the roads and that weren't directly in the river being gauged or read by the gauges caused some of that confusion. So I don't know if there's anything we can do to help in the future with that.
City Manager Mack?
I will attempt to answer this. The engineers in the room can tell me all the things I get wrong. So a couple of things. First, it's the National Weather Service and USGS who provide the modeling, not the Corps. They're helping us with some other stuff. As it relates to the river, and we internally questioned that quite a bit as well when they were giving us the it's going to hit 18 feet. We believe that the blip in their modeling came from Willow Creek. There were some ice dams that kind of broke loose that we weren't expecting that caused a spike in the gauges. As it relates to the lake, we think that some of the modeling might have been off because of the amount of ice that remained on the lake, which was, and unless they were actually here with boots on the ground looking at it, it's hard to know what impact the ice, and frankly, it was probably a good thing that the ice was still on the lake as it was continuing to rise because it kept it from coming up even higher. As it relates to, water crossing over streets, I wasn't here in 29, but by all accounts, the city and county and state went to a lot of efforts. There were a lot more HESCO baskets. There were a lot of other areas that were blocked off, and the water never reached those points either. So internally and as part of the command group, the discussion is, we don't want to be, we don't want to scare people. We don't want to be overly aggressive, but we also don't want to be caught with our, with our pants down. And so I think the efforts that we did put in were appropriate. And for some people at the lake, I've heard from a few people that for them particularly, the water was worse this year than it was in 2019. So as far as modeling goes, I don't know if there's a way for us to help them be more precise. There were some maybe not necessarily miscalculations, but with the amount of ice, just not only at the lake, but upstream, I do think impacted some of the numbers that they were looking at. One day, I think it was Wednesday, we even had the people above the people in Aberdeen on the call, like, yeah, this is not making sense to us, but this is what the science is telling us. So, we want you to be prepared and do what you think is necessary. And, protecting that public infrastructure was the right call. But I'm also glad that we didn't, berm off all the areas that were done in 2019. And, that might have been a little overkill for this particular event. I don't know if Brandy or Justin or Scott is leading those meetings. If you have anything else to add, please do. Did we run any of the pumps? Yeah, the pumps have been running for, I don't know, 3 or 4 weeks now.
Any further discussion on this item? Councilman Danforth.
It might be a good idea for us, because I've been asked umpteen times too. And Bruce, you and I spoke a little bit today. Is there a place that the public can go to see what the latest forecast is? Is there do we put that on our webpage? Is there some place? And the other thing is I think we have to be careful that we get addressed, and we might be either not interpreting what we're being told correctly, or it might change and we aren't aware of it, good, bad, or other. And I think it's a good idea if we're asked, we got to point people towards what is the official communication for this scenario. So ideally, it's somewhere, whatever that number is, that we can say, go to the city webpage and it lists it right there. And that's all we know at this time. And then everybody's at least going to one place using the same information. Because I do think we get different information at times. Some of it's old, it could be secondhand, I don't know that. But just
there is a spot on the website. There's a banner right across the top for flood information that people can click on, and it'll take them to the most recent information. I think the National Weather Service and USGS also has public information available. Brandy and Justin can probably speak to the detail that you can get from those sites better than I can. But also the city's social media, we've been very consistent in providing that same information across all of those avenues throughout the duration of our conversations the last few weeks.
All right, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the motion is to approve Resolution 23-17. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. All right, we're back onto the agenda. Chair will entertain a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda.
So moved.
Motion made by Councilman Shetty, seconded by Councilman Tupper. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the consent agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Now is the time for public comments. If anyone is here who would like to address the council on an item not on tonight's agenda, now is your time to do so. I'll close the public comments, open it up for an approval of the agenda with one change. We are striking item F. The person who was going to give part of the update has a family situation that he must attend to, so we're just going to have to wait on that probably till the next council meeting. But we're striking item F. Otherwise, thank you, Councilman Vilhauer, and seconded by Councilman Paulson. Any discussion on that? Motion is to approve the agenda. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item A is a update provided by Michelle Kakachik from the Watertown Development Company.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening to everyone. It's been a little while since we've been here. I think it was December of 2021, I believe, somewhere around there was our last check-in, and we like to do that about once a year when we're not up here for a specific agenda item. Just give everybody a little overview, chance to ask questions, and we just then can let the community know a little bit about what we're up to and who we are if they don't already know. So I did not bring anybody a nice PowerPoint today, so I'm just gonna run through some details and just kind of get you up to speed. So for those that aren't familiar with the development company, we are a 501c6 economic development organization funded by public and private investors and also funded by the sale and leasing of land and buildings. So the city is our biggest supporter, and we appreciate that relationship with the city, and enjoy working with everyone. I know I've gotten through to all but one of the council members to sit down and give them a chance to ask me questions one-on-one. So Colin, you're next. So talking a little bit about the governance, we are governed by a 17-member board of directors. We have some standing members. We have City Manager Mack serves on our board, along with the president of LATC as a standing member, one of the county commissioners, and also Steve Lehner from Watertown Municipal Utilities. And then we have a number of investment directors and at-large directors representing lots of different sectors in the community. So we're appreciative for their work with our organization. We have a staff of 4. I'm the executive director. I've been there since 2014. We have Molly Heaton that just started with us late in this fall, almost winter, and she took over as Director of Business Development. And her areas that she deals in are workforce development, communication with prospects, project management, new and existing projects, and then governance as far as helping us keep ourselves on track as far as our bylaws, our board meetings, things like that. So Molly comes from a background in human resources in the manufacturing field and has been a great fit for workforce development and is comfortable in that industrial space. So we're happy to welcome Molly. We've had Tracy Stein with us. I can't remember the number of years. It's been a long time. I know it's 15 plus years that Tracy's been on our team. And you'll see Tracy be active in the space with tax increment financing plans. She also is the one that keeps an eye on kind of the housing situation. She's in charge of the housing study. And then she also does keep tabs on childcare in Watertown and where we might have a relevant role in that. She's also kind of involved in a lot of data as far as property data, things like that, and keeping us up to speed on those things and just kind of other strategy type activities. And then we have Amanda Culhane, and Amanda does our marketing and promotions. So the visual images you see and the public messaging as far as our Facebook page, things like that, that's Amanda is getting that out there. Amanda also does a lot in the community development space for us, and then in the entrepreneurial space as well. I'm a facilitator for Co-Starters, but which I'll talk about a little further down. But Amanda is really the one that's helping make that successful. So from a professional standpoint, as an organization, we are an accredited economic development organization from the International Economic Development Council, and I believe we are still the only one in South Dakota. And if not, my apologies to any other communities that have joined us, but I think the cheese still stands alone there. But we will be working on the recertification of that. So we will have another visit from those folks at IEDC, and they talk to community members. So some of you may get a call, and they evaluate our strategic plan. They evaluate our resources that we have, and if we perform at the level of an accredited organization. So it's a nice honor to have that. Gives us a lot of credibility when working on projects. From a staff standpoint, I am a certified economic developer, and I have been since 2020. We have Molly in our office is just beginning her IEDC training journey this week and is at the Heartland Economic Development training. So that's a pretty intense 5-day training, and she's also a Co-Starters facilitator. Tracy in our office is a certified economic development finance professional, also by IEDC. So we have a good depth of knowledge there. Amanda has completed the courses needed for IEDC's new entrepreneurial certification. So she just has testing up ahead of her on that at the next opportunity, and is also a certified Co-Starters facilitator. So just a great base of knowledge within the office, and you couple that with our leadership on a board level, and it gives us a good amount of resources. So just to go a little bit over some projects, of course, we've been talking a lot about Calvin Industrial Park that we bought in 2018 in cooperation with the city, and last year were awarded, the city was awarded a grant, which we are which passes through for us to help take care of the costs of getting some critical infrastructure into that. Along with that, we also have excuse me, the catalyst for that is a confirmed local expansion, which due to the nature of development, I can't say who it is, but we're excited that we had a bird in hand on a project that allowed us to be able to immediately show results that would get us that approval from the EDA. So we're really excited about that and continue to work on that with both that business and also with the EDA on the infrastructure overall. The grant is administered by First District Association of Local Governments. So you will remember Todd talking a little bit about that a few weeks back. We have a second perspective project for Calvin Park as well, but again, too preliminary to be able to mention publicly, but we're excited about the opportunity for that, and we look forward to seeing others follow suit. We still have additional land available in Pheasant Ridge that is build ready and very competitively priced. We do make sure that we are careful about projects that come into those parks. We want to make sure that they are hitting our mission as far as growing jobs and growing output for the city of Watertown and the surrounding area, and not things that are more speculative uses. So we do try to keep our, keep it for the intended use, rather than we want it to create wealth for everyone is basically the use of that land. So a little bit more kind of branching out from that industrial development side. We've really gotten more into the entrepreneurial space in the last few years. Especially in this last year, we had the opportunity through the SBA, Startup Sioux Falls, and Dakota Resources to offer the Co-Starters entrepreneurial curriculum at no cost. Generally, places charge about $750 a person for that course, and we're able to offer it for free just for the price of our time and our facilities to offer that. And we graduated our first cohort about a month or so ago, and that was, I believe, 12 or 13, and we have a new cohort that just started last week. So if you see the lights on Tuesday nights at WDC, that's what we're doing up there, and it's very exciting to see those graduates kind of move to either the next stage of building their business, or if they just have an idea that grows over the years, it's like we're there to help. So very excited about that. We're continuing to administer the Urban Renewal Fund, which also kind of helps in that entrepreneurial support. That's exclusively for the Urban Renewal District. As of January, we have dispersed about $116,000 in loan funds and 6 total projects since we took that over around 2-3 years ago. So that as that fund continues to revolve, we'll continue to get those funds out. From a workforce development side, that's something that always keeps us busy and is high of mind on everyone, from our employers to the public sector that we serve. So in the last year, we had our Attract and Enhance program. We were awarded some additional funds to help with that from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. Helped us kind of shore up some really good relocation packages for citizens coming into Watertown. And that added about $15,000 in additional value to that program just over that course of the year that they were letting us have those funds. So that was fantastic. Along with that, we are still continuing with the home program, which does provide down payment assistance to people moving to Cottington County for employment for the purchase of a qualifying home. There are some specific restrictions on time with that, like how long they've been here and on the price of the home. But as of January, we had dispersed over $100,000 in those benefits, and we were at 20 people as of then, and I know we've done at least one closing since then. So that's 20 new families moving to Watertown and working in Watertown. So very excited about that program, and we'll be looking to continue that in the future. We partner with Lake Area Tech on the Stretch the Million program that allows us to help support the industry partners that want to engage in that. There's no way we can replicate a program that will have those kind of impacts with the 3-year work requirement with those industry partners upon graduation. So rather than try to duplicate the work and not do it as well, we just line up behind it and support it and help get more industry partners engaged with that program. We've also spent a lot of efforts in the last few years, and it grows a little bit every year, to support efforts to retain interns. We know there's a tremendous opportunity if we can get those students here either on a formal internship over the summer, or if our employers can get those students here either on a formal internship over the summer or with for work experience that they know could turn into a long-term employment engagement post-graduation. We want those students bonding with Watertown, and we want to help. So we offer up some networking connections and kind of a goodie bag for them to really see them so that they can see themselves living and working in Watertown post-graduation. Along with workforce development, housing and community development are big parts of that. So the things that we want to continue to do in that space, we've been very active with supporting some tax increment financing for additional housing. We continue to look for opportunities to do that, and we're following the state housing money and when that will become available pretty closely so that we can kind of make those pathways with our developers and get more projects going here as well. Just a few other pieces on it. Of course, we are in our kind of winding down on putting together our plan for the next 5 years for when our campaign starts. That's kind of an exciting time for us because we get an accountability check on what we've done in the last 5 years, and we have a chance to look at what worked, what hasn't worked, and we do dig in and have talked to the stakeholders about what they want to see, what the buy-in on our overall vision for the next 5 years is. So that's kind of an exciting time, and I enjoyed it last time, and I've been enjoying it this time because I would rather have people come and tell us what they like and don't like us doing rather than telling other people what they like and don't like us doing. So it's an open book, and we want people to really, be on board. And if they're not on board, we need to take it under advisement of how do we serve everybody's needs, even if we can't check every bullet point off of someone's list. So. Finally, on the fun and exciting news on the marketing side, back in October, we did launch our new branding. So very excited to, with everyone's branding between the CVB and the city and the chamber, that we all have some nice new imaging that will all looks great together. That was a really fun process, and we wanted to have some imaging that conveyed to the community the kind of the values of trust and just kind of a dignity of what we do as far as incorporating our rich history, but also being fresh and very fresh and clean. So I'm very excited how that turned out. We should see our website coming up within a couple months. We don't have a firm date on that, but we want to do it right when it launches. So we're, working on getting all the, email domains and things like that that'll have to go with it and make sure that's a smooth transition. So, but I'll open up for any questions anybody has.
Thank you very much. We will open it up for questions. Councilman Danforth.
Michelle,
Yes.
thank you. And I apologize, I did not write the program, the program name down, but
That's okay.
the program that we have that brings that we can do some level of funding for housing that brings people to our community.
Yes.
Two questions on that.
Sure.
Is that a Watertown program? Is that a state program?
The home program. The home program is a specific Watertown program funded by Watertown Development
That we've
Company.
all put together as aggregately. How is that? So I'm from out of town.
Yep.
How do I end up knowing about that? How's that message, that opportunity communicated?
There's I'll say 3 ways. There is the promotion of it that we do through Facebook, through regular radio ads, things like that. But the real meat of how we get it out to people is through getting it to the employers and also to the lenders. So that because we had to make sure with this, the way the program is structured is it's a forgivable second mortgage for 3 years that comes in there. So if they don't sell the home within 3 years, that mortgage we have just goes away. So we needed to make sure that it would sing with the because we're not a bank, so we wanted to work with the lenders, and we wanted to make sure that us doing that would sing with the different types of lending products that they have out there for those homeowners. And getting it out to the employers is vitally important because we need those employers when they're doing those interviews, giving that messaging on between the matching funds for relocation and the home program, demonstrate the value of what Watertown can offer because it's really competitive. So this helps us stand out. You're welcome.
Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Michelle, as I recall, in the middle of COVID 3 years ago, we provided, I think it was 50,000, and utility department a like amount for grants. What can you talk a little bit about what became that? Has that money been dispersed out, or What's the background on that or history on that?
That would be the Disaster Revolving Loan Fund. In 2020, we had, as soon as things started to get pretty real, we understood that there was going to be an impact on the business community. So we talked to our lenders about what they were going to be doing for some of their clients, so that we knew where we could be in and be impactful for those small businesses. So we created that originally to we solicited some funds from different lenders. I know the city, as you noted, the city, municipal utilities, and then T. Denny Sanford also threw in on that as well. And what that was used for is for loans to small businesses, 0% interest, very favorable payment schedule to bridge the gap between the immediate needs they had and the gap before they would be able to get the federal and state programs that came out. So we're seeing most of those are in repayment. Many of them have been completely repaid. So we're evaluating that fund because we still believe there's a need to retain something for the kind of things that come up that aren't those insurable disasters, and be able to help people stay afloat and help them pivot. Some businesses, we've had a few recent loans where there were a few that did just have some long-term effects from, the aftermath of COVID. So we wanted to make sure that it's there. But when we do go to make that change, I know we've talked about it with our board, is we just need to look at what's appropriate for the size of that fund, and then making sure we're putting that message out there to those that funded it.
Thank you. Any further discussion? All right, thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Item B is an application for a transfer of a retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license and video lottery license from IYS Ventures LLC to Kareem Incorporated, doing business as Freedom at the same location. Finance Officer Bob Zine, please explain what this is all about.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. As stated, this will be a transfer of ownership, so the location of the license remains the same. All fees have been paid and public notice has been given. So if there's any specific questions, I can answer them. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will open up a public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to testify on this item? Close the public hearing and take action from the council. Do I have a motion to approve the approve the transfer? Motion made by Councilman Bueller, seconded by Councilman Schutte. Any discussion on this, council? All those in favor of approving the transfer, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item C is an application for a transfer of a retail malt beverage and South Dakota Farm wine license and video lottery license from IYS Ventures to Kareem Incorporated, doing business as Mart Stores at the same location. Finance Officer Bob Zine, take it away.
Thank you, Mayor. Similar situation here. It's just going to be a transfer of ownership. Location will remain the same. I will note that this license is inactive at the time, so it would remain inactive until you guys do that. So, and then fees have been paid, notice has been given, everything's in line. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll open up a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to testify on this item? I'll close the public hearing, open it up for council action. Do I have a motion to approve the transfer? Motion made by Councilman Vilhauer, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Any discussion on this, council? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the transfer. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item D is an approval of the plat of Lot 1, Block 1, and Detention Outlot A, Block 2, Williston, 2nd Edition, to the Municipality of Watertown in the County of Coddington, Resolution number 23-15, and authorize the city manager to enter into the development agreement. Brandy Hanton, our community development manager, will illuminate us on this one.
All right, thank you, Mayor. And we're working on getting the agenda pulled up here so I can show you some visuals, but this is a plat proposal for Williston's 2nd Edition. This concept plan of this subdivision has been approved by the Plan Commission, and the preliminary plan and construction plans have been approved by the design review team and staff. And there's also a development agreement with the public infrastructure improvement obligations outlined that will be recorded along with this plat. Some things that were described to the Plan Commission was the kind of the nuance to this agreement is that there are some easements being platted that will be future dedicated right-of-way, but they're not necessary. Let me get it pulled up here so I can show you better. It's not necessary at this point because the two lots that are being platted do have access to public right-of-way, which is 78th Street Southwest. So here you can see the future right-of-way easements, access easements that are being reserved until a time where development to the north or the west happens, and that will be as determined at when it is necessary by the city engineer at that time. And so the development agreement is clear on that, as I stated, will be platted or recorded with this plat. So with that, I'll stand by with any questions.
Sorry, thank you. I will open up for a motion to approve the plat. Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Paulson. Any discussion on this, council? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the plat. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item E is a first reading of ordinance number 23-08, amending the zoning map of the city of Watertown for Lot 19 and Lot A of Railroad Edition and LP Edition from its current designation of C2, Local Commercial District, to R3, Multifamily Residential District. Community Development Manager Brandy Hanton, you're back on.
All right, thank you. So as stated, this is a rezone request for property located along 11th Street Northeast, just north of 1st Avenue Northeast, which is located over by Lake Area Technical College in that vicinity, and then the Watertown High School that I'm pointing out here on the vicinity map. So currently this property does have storage units, some portable, some permanent, and the property owner, Jimmy Wen, is proposing to rezone it from the current C2 local commercial to R3 multifamily residential, and with the intent to develop some apartment buildings there, which is in great proximity to LATC and the growing need for multifamily housing. And so, but one thing to make known is that when they go from C2 to R3, the existing storage units will become legal nonconforming. So if they decide to keep some of those, then they would need to go to the Board of Adjustment if the rezone was approved by council. After that would be approved, then they could go back to the board if they intended to keep the storage units, if they wanted to make a change and applied for a building permit for a different use. So with that, I'll stand by for any questions. And this is the first reading.
Yes, thank you. This being a first reading, we'll go right into discussion and questions. Council? Councilman Tupper.
Brandy, when I was at that meeting for the Plan Commission, and I can't remember, you might have to refresh my memory. Other than the one gentleman that called in, there was no other opposition to this, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Brandy, the neighbors within the vicinity would have been contacted through this process. Any objections or concerns expressed by them?
Just one adjacent property owner that did come to the meeting and just had concerns about going from storage units to apartments, and made the comment that storage units make for better neighbors than apartments. So okay. Just had his concerns there.
Okay, thank you.
Any further, Councilman Danforth?
Thank you. Brandy, is it normal for us to create, well, I'm assuming is it legally conforming or illegally if they build R3 structures there, is it normal for us to say, okay, go ahead and build them, we'll issue permits for that, but then they can still keep what is their commercial development? Is that a normal thing that we do?
So it's always kind of the chicken or the egg with these scenarios where when it's rezoned, storage units are a conditional use in the R3 district. So at the time that they would want to do anything with the property, we would have to bring it back into conformance. So storage units are also a conditional use in the C2 district. But since the zoning district will be changing, then they'd have to be reapproved to exist in the R3 district. However, I believe that they plan on eliminating this use. And then if they did utilize the storage units as detached garages, then that would be an incidental or accessory use to the multifamily apartment buildings. So it would exist as legal nonconforming until they wanted to do something different with the property, if it were rezoned.
Which is triggered by a building permit.
Yep,
Okay, all right, thank you.
yep.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right, we'll close that item. Go to item G, an approval of a lease agreement with the Watertown Optimist Club at Stokes Thomas Lake City Park. Manager Hanton, you can take it away.
Yes, thank you. And this I worked closely with Lisa, our city attorney, on. And so this agreement is outlining the Optimist Club's proposal to be responsible for constructing a new storage building on city property at City Park. And let me get to the map so you guys can see that area. So this exhibit is a part of the agreement, the lease agreement, and so this would be the vicinity that the storage unit or the storage building would be constructed, and this would be for the purpose of storing Winter Wonderland decor and equipment. And so the lease agreement is very well written and specific that if the building is ever used for a different intent, that would not be allowed, that it is strictly for Winter Wonderland storage, and that at a time where that would, if plans for the building would change, it would become the city's building without us having to pay for it, as they would be able to construct it on our land. And the lease agreement also says that so it's $1 per year, and then the agreement will be reviewed every 5 years. And that's really probably to, if anything has changed with the use of the building. So yeah, Lisa, if you want to add anything to that.
Nope, you did a fabulous job.
All right, thank you. I don't need to do this, but I do see some optimists in the room. At least, there's probably quite a few optimists, but there's 2 technical club members. 3, oh yes. But if you would like to address the council, you sure can. I would give you that opportunity. Just identify yourself once you come up to the microphone. Yeah.
We'll get you up here and get the mic.
Come on, Santa, get up to the mic.
There you go. Well, yeah, I don't have my full beard on or anything right now, but Optimist Club has been very, very in trying to promote winter activities in Watertown. And I don't know if you've seen some statistics that we've been able to put together as far as the number of vehicles that drive through. It is a drive-through Winter Wonderland display. We have luckily been able to use the city park, and have tried to maintain and do what the best we can as far as working with the Park and Rec department and getting everything squared away and done correctly. But with the number of years that we've been doing this now, obviously we've accumulated a lot of displays, a lot of various lighting and you name it. We've had outstanding support from area businesses and as well as the city. I mean, it's just been a win-win from our standpoint. And right now, have been working with Midwest Bible Camp and utilizing a storage facility from them, but they're needing that space. And we just feel that this would be a good opportunity to, maybe if we can consolidate our displays and so on. Obviously, right there at City Park would be great. And we would sure hope that that would, become a win-win for us and for the city, and utilizing a lot of Lake Area assets, Lake Area Technical College assets as far as preparation and so on. And we're securing other funding, I guess, as far as trying to put this together. Obviously, no cost to the city. I mean, we will build it, take care of it, manage it, and so anyway, that I would sure hope that you could vote in favor for it. We would really appreciate it.
Thank you, Randy. If you would just kindly stay there in case there's any questions for the
Okay.
club. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the lease agreement. Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Paulson. Let's open up discussion. Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Will we be losing any camping space or pads out there from this?
No.
Okay. That's awfully close to lake. Are you high enough, or is the water going to cause any problems out there?
They will have to build with freeboard, so they'll have to
Okay.
be at an elevation of
Okay.
1725.
Okay. No, I guess I got to say my confidence to the club over the years. We've gone through there many nights when you've been out there in the freezing cold that I would not want to be in your shoes, and my confidence to you and the entire club. It's a wonderful addition to the community.
Councilman Shetty.
Thank you, Mayor. Actually, that was my one question was the elevation. So they've got I was going to ask if there's what kind of material, probably I would assume stick built versus block, but I thought about what about along the water and the right material that can hold up to, if there's sheetrock inside or something that doesn't hold up well to moisture. But I guess if it's going to be high enough from any kind of flood level, maybe that's not even a concern. So.
And let me expand on that a little bit too. So at the time of building permit issuance, then that's when we would review what they're proposing. With it being non-residential, they could also do flood vents if they did not bring in fill and raised it up. I know that there are some drainage issues within that area, so those are all things that city staff will review when they do submit for the building permit. But per our FEMA floodplain regulations, they do have to be either wet flood proofed or elevated to that 1 foot above the base flood elevation.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councilman Danforth.
A couple questions, and then I got some comments here. But has there been any opposition to this? Has this been posted to adjacent landowners that this construction might be going on?
No, because it's not anything that would have gone before the planning commission. It's just a construction on city property.
Okay, but my concern there is we have residents that are either immediately adjacent to this or immediately across the road. They're obviously certainly aware that there's a park there, but maybe not that there's going to be a storage building up there. It would seem like they should be notified of this before it's actually approved. Is there a site plan that's more specific than what this says? It's a general area. Is there a site plan that shows the specifically where that building is planned for and what the access to it would be?
They do not have one yet because they were hoping that this agreement could be in place and then they would work with getting the exact location and then working with city staff on the drainage issues to once they had it surveyed. But they, I believe, are waiting on putting money towards the project until they know that the agreement is that this location is approvable.
Mayor, I'll give up at this point. I would like, before we vote, I'd like to have some comments if we would.
Sure. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Randy, what can you tell me what the dimension is? I know I read it, I don't remember it. What is the dimension of that roughly?
32 by 80, or 32 by 40, I'm sorry.
32 by
32 by 40.
Okay, thank you. Well, can I make a comment, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Just a suggestion, and I hope we can make it work, would be to put that, even if we have to, I don't know how we do this with planning when you talk about setbacks on a park, but if there's a way to keep that as close as we could to that southern edge of where you've got it drawn up here, in that general area, to put it as far south as you could, I think that would be beneficial. Just my opinion.
Thank you. Any further questions, comments? Councilman Danforth.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'm probably out on a limb all by myself here, but first of all, I want to state that I fully support the efforts and what the Optimist Club does in our community, and particularly with this, because I do enjoy the going through there with the family and grandkids and such when the light display is on. I personally am not comfortable with giving up city park land for a storage building. I hate this. I think it's an improper use. I think there's other places that it could go that we could work with the Optimist Club on. That would be probably city-owned land, and so that you don't have the land acquisition costs. But our parks are developed for the public and for the public's use. Now, you could argue and say that the light display is the public use. Well, yes, it is, but not the storage building. I think we've had very good success over the years that we've had the two little camp, well, what are they, little cabins, I guess, for lack of better terms. To me, if we're going to use city land, those types of things are what we should be developing and using our city parkland for, especially at the lake. You know, that is so finite. Once you give it up, it's gone. We can establish more parks elsewhere, but we can't here. It is what it is. You're not going to expand it. So I think it's an inappropriate use of the land. There are other locations. There's a small little lot that the city owns in regards to the industrial park that could at least be considered. We've got a new street department that is 5 minutes away, that property, that maybe that could house this. I am concerned. I know that Amanda, that we said we didn't need to notice anybody for this because it's not a change of zoning, but we are affecting putting a storage building up next to residential properties. And the appropriate thing to me seems like they should have been notified of that so that we would know whether they have opposition to this. Otherwise, they're not going to know until somebody comes to break ground and starts building a building. So I understand the convenience of this and I understand the need, but I think there are some better locations that we could accommodate as the city that would work well for you. No, it's not on site, but I think it would work well for you, and it would still preserve our parkland for its intended purpose. So,
thank you, Councilman Danforth. Councilman Bueller.
Thank you, Mayor. Question, and I'm sure you've probably investigated this, but bear with me. I have a question. Did we look at all on the east side of the road? Is there elevations there that would support that or not? Or are they is the land just too low for that?
We did only look at this location just because Winter Wonderland is at City Park, and so it is the convenience aspect of it. And two, I didn't mean to leave Dusty out. Dusty worked on this as well, our Park and Rec director, and so I don't know if he wants to state anything about using the parkland.
Well, first off, I don't know if we own that property to the east, just on the other side of the road from City Park to the east. And I don't know if the elevation would support it, but I don't know if that's been looked at, because that would certainly give them the convenience to get everything where they need to get it, I think, without having to use up that city park land. But I would be
think
concerned
the city
probably about
owns-
the elevation.
Yeah, well, and wetlands.
Exactly.
But I'm sure there is an area in there that could work, but I actually don't think the city owns that.
I don't recall. I don't know if anybody here knows that.
I believe we do.
Do we? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Is that something we would want to explore at this point? I don't know.
Councilman Tupper, but just to put you on the spot, Dusty, if you want to say something, you sure can, but I'll go to Councilman Tupper now.
I do believe the city does own that because we were gonna convey that to the, when they were looking at building a veterans, cemetery out there, so I'm pretty sure city does own that, so.
Yeah, that's how I learned of it. Parks and Recreation and Forestry Director, Dusty Roddick.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My involvement in this, obviously I worked with Lisa and Brandy on this proposed lease. To answer a question, when I was first presented with this, there is not a specific site plan related to this document, but I have seen at least a preliminary plan, essentially discussing some of the different locations for this building. This would sit adjacent to the storm shelter building out at that site. And again, I believe there may be some minor elevation or flooding concerns, but the at least preliminary plan that I saw set this to Bruce's point fairly close to that southern edge. And, at this point, I don't feel that would impact, recreational activities in that area. But that's kind of when I looked at this, when this was brought to me, that's, how I evaluated some of that. But certainly would be open to other alternatives.
Councilman Bueller?
Thanks. While you're both there, I just want to say, I love what you guys do out there. I take my grandkids all of that. It's wonderful what you do. I would support this, absolutely. I mean, this brings people to town. I think where it's at's a decent location for it, and it makes sense to give you more access to all that equipment, all that stuff every year. So, and I think from a tax standpoint too, there's probably people that come to town just to go see that. So, no, I'm willing to support that, but my curiosity was, is there even a better location to the east? And maybe not. Thanks.
One other thing I might add is I do believe, and again, I've only been here 6 months, so I don't have all the history, but I do believe there is precedent for something like this. Something like this was constructed at Derby Downs once upon a time, so.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councilman Schutte.
Sorry, thank you, Mayor. So just to confirm, you don't foresee where it's located with what's the other facility that's right there already you had mentioned?
The storm shelter?
Storm shelter, and so you don't see this as a interference with future growth, like another cabin or something like that?
I don't.
Okay.
If we were to put another cabin potentially at some point, that would likely be closer to the lake.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? I'd just like to say thank you to the Optimist Club. Not only do you probably bring in visitors to Watertown, but I know the money that you raise in donations is considerable, and you're very generous with helping the community with the money that you make. And I want to say thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
So, the motion is to approve the lease agreement. All those in favor will say aye. All those opposed, nay. We will call the roll on this one.
There we go. Okay. Bueller? Bueller. Danforth?
No, please.
Pauline?
Aye.
Paulson? Schutte? Tupper? Billhauer?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Motion carries. Item H is an approval of an FAA Airport Improvement Program grant application for the design of a partial parallel taxiway and ag operations area. Assistant City Engineer Justin Peterson will tell us more. Or do we just go straight to Rob?
I'll actually allow Rob to do this one.
Airport director,
Airport manager.
airport manager, sorry, Rob Cyrus.
So this is just to get a ag spray taxi line built. The Watertown Airport has begun to see a large increase in ag spray operators using the airport. The airport has experienced problems finding temporary areas for the ag operators to operate out of. The additional ag operations combined with the increased lake area technical flight school operations had led to the general aviation apron area to become congested. By constructing a new ag area separate from the rest of the GA operations will help relieve some of the congestion in the area. Also, an environmental review was done in 2022 to ensure the project will not have any effects on the 1930 stone hangar, the historical hangar out there.
Thank you very much. Chair will entertain a motion to approve the grant application. Motion made by Councilman Paulson, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Questions or comments? Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Rob, maybe you mentioned, and I spaced it out, this did come from the airport board with a recommendation to approve it.
Yes, it did.
I've got a question in general on this as well as the other ones we're going to be talking about in just a few minutes. Okay, it's a 95-5 match, 90%, 5%, 5%.
Yes.
A few years ago, wasn't it scheduled to go to a 6%? I'm sorry, state dropped to 4% and the city to increase to 6%. Wasn't that in the works at one point? And
I'm not aware of that. I know all the grants lately are coming out. Last year we were environmentally acceptable, so it was 95. So this year's FAA. We're not anymore, so it's 95 and 5.
I see our finance officer has her hand up over there.
Thank you. That was a talk a couple years ago that they were going to increase what we had to support it with. I don't know what changed, but the last ones that we have, we've maintained the 5. And then a few of the grants during COVID, we actually received 100% federal, and the state didn't have to kick in on those either. So,
okay. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, the motion is to approve the grant application. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item I is an approval of an FAA Airport Improvement Program grant application for the design of a partial parallel taxiway B and taxiway C in the amount of $555,000. Should I go straight to Rob? Airport Manager Rob Cyrus.
So this grant has actually 3 things with it. The first one is it's a cultural reimbursement that'll be at a survey in 2020. Another one is a hangar tax line reimbursement up by the SRE building that we built last summer. And the third is for the design of the taxiway and parallel taxiway C. This taxiway B was constructed in 92 and has deteriorated over the years. The PCI value of the pavement was fallen to 47 and 51. It is identified on the ALP taxiway B as proposed to be removed and reconstructed south of its existing location, approximately 2,160 by 50 feet. Additionally, primary runway 1735 does not have a full parallel taxiway. It is proposed the parallel taxiway to be constructed at the same time, approximately 2,780 by 50 feet.
All right. Chair will entertain a motion to approve this grant application. Motion made by Councilman Vilhauer, seconded by Councilman Schutte. Let's open it up for discussion. Let's close it for discussion. All those in favor of this grant application, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Item J is an approval of professional services agreement for the design of these taxiways, C and B, with Helms and Associates, civil engineers and land surveyors. Airport Manager Rob Cyrus, take it away.
This is the professional service agreement to go along with the design of it. So this is just the agreement for Helms and Associates to do the actual design work for it.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve this agreement. Motion made by Councilman Paulson, seconded by Councilman Tupper. Open it up for discussion. Councilman Paulson.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a question on Helms and Associates. I know that they do excellent work and they've done a lot of work for us in the past, but is this ever opened up for other engineers, or do we just, I know that's kind of their specialty too, so I'm not trying to stir the pot. I'm just asking. Helms is always.
They actually went out for an independent fee assessment with Mead and Hunt as well, and as long as they were within a certain threshold, they were going to get the contract.
Okay.
Councilman Bueller.
Thank you. I got to ask, just what exactly do they do? I mean, I guess there's some surveying that goes on, but for $185,000, what do they do for these? Do you, if you know that?
Well, not 100%, but I know sure that for a fact that they know all the FAA rules and regulations, so they make sure there's nothing that's going to be illegal out there. They follow all the guidelines. They know those more than most of us combined, so they're the experts in the FAA regulations. There's quite a few of them for everything that's done out at the airport.
Thank you. City Manager Mack, did you like to say something?
I was just comment also in the background information, it does talk that they will be conducting an aquatic resources survey, a topographical survey, and a geotechnical exploration during the design phases. Yes, see if there's any puddles or ancient fish. I'm not sure, but those are all requirements of the FAA. We don't really have an option to not do those things.
Okay. Ancient fish. Councilman Danforth.
Thank you, Mayor. Rob, help me here just a little bit. I'm a little confused on I and J. So is that I'll round it up, 185, is that paid from the 555? What's getting designed in I for the grant? And then when you jump down to J, it's kind of referencing the same things.
So
B and C, what's the difference there? And
there's actually two different grants going out. One is for just a partial B and C taxiway. The other one is also for the two reimbursements. One for the hangar taxi lane we built at the SRA, and the other is for the cultural survey. That's what the 550 is for. That's the two reimbursable grants are, and also the design of the parallel B and C taxiways.
so J is outside of what is noted in I, the work.
No, it's part of I.
So is that 185 paid for from the 555 if we get that grant?
Yes, it is.
Okay, all right, that's what I
Well,
thought.
90%, yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
Engineer Peterson, did you want to say something?
I was gonna clarify the 185 design agreement is part of the grant that was approved. The additional things in the grant was a cultural survey, which has already been done, and hangar taxi lane, which is part of the SRE project, which has already been done. So the reimbursements.
All right. Any further comments or discussion? The motion is to approve the agreement. All those in favor will please say aye. Aye. Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item K is an approval of a professional services agreement for the design of the Egg Spray Area Partial Parallel Taxiway and Hangar Taxi Lanes with Helms and Associates Civil Engineers and Land Surveyors in the amount of roughly $133,000. Airport Manager Rob Cyrus.
This goes along with item K. This is the actual professional service agreement for the design of the Ag Spray Taxi Lane.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve this agreement. Motion made by Councilman Schutte, seconded by Councilman Tupper. Open it up for discussion. Councilman Tupper.
Rob, is this basically going to take all the ag air and put it into one area? That's kind of what we're trying to accomplish with all of it?
That is the plan, yes. We do have one ag sprayer that's waiting for this to be approved, and he's ready to build, and then we have one more that we have to talk to.
Okay. Is there a reason why we want to kind of get them out into one area by themselves, or is it more safe, probably? Or
just to get all the chemicals out and all the ag sprayers in one location away from the GA.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Motion is to approve the agreement. All those in favor will please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say nay. Motion carries. Item L is an approval of a professional services agreement for the Watertown Regional Airport Marketing and Air Service Development with ASM in the amount of $57,000 annually for 2 years, making recommendation to the City Council for approval. Airport Manager Cyrus.
So this will be a company to replace with Volair, which we had the mutual agreement to no longer work together in the past. This is ASM. When we did all of our interviews and stuff like this, ASM stood out above and beyond more than the rest. Airport board actually liked them by far number one over rest. So this is just a professional service agreement. They do the ASD, which is Air Service Development, and also a marketing company all in one. Be $57,000 annually or $600 annually for 2 years with ASM.
Thank you. Chair will entertain a motion to approve this agreement. Motion made by Councilman Paulson, seconded by Councilman Bueller. Open it up for discussion. Councilman Vilhauer.
Thank you, Mayor. Rob, you said that they were the kind of head and shoulders above the other applicants. I was going to ask what stood out, but I guess I'll just take your comment at its face. Did they apply last time?
They did, yes.
Okay, but they didn't stand out last time, or not trying to put you on the spot, but
I asked them why they didn't stand out so much last time, and they actually have improved over the few years, and they actually sat down. We saw them face to face and in person. They actually had a better project to present us. And actually, Mike Tomlinson was most enthused with them, who's also in that same area. So
okay, thank you.
Councilman Tupper.
Is there, with their last company, we canceled their contract early. Is there an out with this contract also, or was that, how was that handled?
Yes, there is termination for convenience, and then you only pay what services have already been rendered to that date.
Thank you. Any further? Councilman Danforth.
Rob, how do we gauge their performance? We got a 2-year contract. It's almost $60,000. We pretty specific in there what their role is. But how do we determine if they're doing what we need to do for us successfully to our expectations?
kind of like with the last company, the best way to engage is going to be in planements. And then the way we can work together, there's a lot of things they would like to do, trying to maybe get another airline in eventually and stuff like that. There's going to be things we can look at, but the number one thing we could look at would be employment numbers.
Councilman Vilhauer.
Actually, I've answered my own question, so I'm good.
All right. Any further discussion? Councilman Tupper?
Rob, did this come from full approval of the whole board?
Yes, unanimous approval from the board, yes.
Thank you.
Councilman Vilhauer.
I actually thought of another question. As I understand it, we've got the funding in place to pay for this contract with monies that we've received, correct?
Let me take that. Yes, we still are using the marketing grant that the airport received. I think the last time I looked, we were at about 90,000 left of those funds. Okay. So.
Thank you.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Motion is to approve the agreement. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. We're on to old business. Councilman Villar? No, she is going to give an update. Yeah.
I was going to ask Rob. I'm not going to steal your thunder, Amanda, but do we have any numbers on the employments the last couple of months, Rob? I wasn't at the last board meeting, and
yes, for March we had 1,365 employments, which is about the same as we had for January and February. March is up pretty good. April's looking like it's going to be pretty good as well.
Okay, so it looks like we've kind of turned the tide again, and okay, sounds good. Thanks, Rob.
Thank you. Any further old business? Councilman?
Well, I do have a question for Rob. It's kind of new.
Sure, let's just break all the rules. Go ahead.
You want to vote on it?
No.
Rob, no, I don't know. Did you want to mention anything about fares and kind of where that's going?
Well, I just talked to Volair. It's going to be coming out in the radio pretty soon, but they're going to have a $99 one-way fare sale. That's going to be the base fare coming out of Watertown to Chicago and Denver.
Lovely. Any further old business? Any new business? Any, Councilman Tupper?
First off, as we're talking about the emergency flooding and situation we've just been going through, first off, I want to say a hats off to everybody that jumped in and helped. As City Manager Mack said earlier tonight about not closing some of those roads, but being prepared to close them, I think you guys reacted very responsibly. You couldn't have did it without a team, though. I mean, there's a lot of effort put in. from everybody. I mean, it's not just the street department or the fire department or police department or public works. It's a team effort. But this is also one of the important parts of working forward with the Army Corps of Engineers with the project that we're working right now to address flooding situations in Watertown. I was a little disturbed at reading the article in the Watertown Public Opinion a couple of weeks ago about that, when it stated that, you know, this council was skating down the wrong path and that we were trying to displace families, flood thousands and thousands of acres. I don't, you know, I know I can only speak for myself, but I don't think it's the intent of this council to approach this as the old Mahoney Creek Dam project. Yeah, and like I say, I know I'm only speaking for myself, but I just want to make myself very clear that I don't believe that that is our intent working forward with this. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further new business? Any liaison reports? And for announcements, we will start with City Manager Mack.
Well, thank you, Mayor. We learned on Friday that the federal DOT has awarded the Essential Air Service bids. As we knew, Denver Air Connection was the only bidder, and they have awarded for Watertown. We will be provided a total of 12 weekly nonstop round trips to Denver and Chicago. So we are keeping our routes that we had. Pier was awarded 12 weekly nonstop round trips to Denver and Minneapolis. So that's the EAS, and we'll be back again in a couple of years to talk about it more.
So good news. Yes. Councilman Paulson?
Thanks, Mayor. On that same note, are we going to improve our gate access in Chicago?
Well, and that's part of you know, the firm that we just approved for air service development. That'll be part of what they work with Denver Air Connection on, is to improve gate access. Although I just flew back from Chicago a couple weeks ago, and a year ago I'd flown to Chicago, and I can it was vastly improved from a year ago. So there's still work to be done, but that's part of the, you know, the firm that we just hired. That'll be the work they do.
Councilman Beeler?
Thanks, Mayor. This might be for Rob. Hey, Rob, you got a sec, buddy?
Oh, I suppose.
I ain't letting you go, man.
I see that.
No, I just, my question, have we gone anywhere with the interlining agreement with Delta in Chicago? Is that gonna go anywhere in your estimation?
All I know is Denver Air is constantly working and trying to get them to the table. That's a conversation between those two, and Delta is very hard to talk to, according to Denver Air.
Okay, be nice to get some kind of update as to where that sits.
We ask them once in a while to see where they're at, but it's a slow process.
Yeah, okay, thanks.
Just wanted to say I had the pleasure of using our airport recently, flying in and out, and thought it was wonderful. So thank you very much. Any further announcements? There's no reason to go into executive session tonight, so therefore the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion made by Councilman Tupper, seconded by Councilman Vilhauer. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, the motion is to adjourn. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Good night and God bless you, Watertown.